the dawn's early light, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Great job. God bless America. And our national anthem, Father's Day Baseball, here in 2006. We'll have the lineups and all the action from Wrigley coming up next. Strained right shoulder in spring training. It's been a long road back Certainly different than Kerry Wood and Wade Miller in that those guys came off surgery. So you hope you don't have the complications. And Marcus felt good, but with the recovery time for Kerry Wood, for instance, Kerry, by the way, could be back as early as next weekend in Minnesota off the disabled list. So the Cubs taking the field behind right-hander Mark Prior. Well, let's hope we avoid the rain today. Lights are on. And today's Cubs broadcast in high definition from Wrigley Field, sponsored by Comcast and presented in Dolby 5.1 digital surround sound. Now the Detroit Tigers starting lineup. They have 13 extra base hits already in the series. Only change 1 through 8. The third spot, Vance Wilson starts in place of Pudge Rodriguez. Kind of interesting why Vance Wilson is batting third. We'll get into it when he comes up.
Take a look at the Cubs defensively behind Mark Prior. Brought to you by Pepsi. Merton, Pierre, and Jones once again across the outfield. Ramirez and Cedeno on the left side. Tony Womack getting the start at second base with Phil Nevin at first. Henry Blanco once again behind the plate, giving Michael Barrett another day to rest that ailing lower back. And Mark Prior will take the hill for the first time in the 06 season. Had to be a long walk from that dugout out to the mound for Mark Prior, and a walk that he's been looking forward to for a long time.
This will be his 98th career start, and his numbers here in the friendly confines. Priorities, yes. So Prior beginning his 5th year in the major leagues. Marty Foster works the plate. Culbreth, Welke, and McClellan, the crew chief, around the bases. And we're set to go. First time Prior has ever faced Detroit, but he's never lost in 10 interleague starts. 6-0 with a .277. And he'll face Curtis Granderson. He's 3 for 8 in the series, a double, 2 triples. Got to keep him off the bases here in the first inning, as he got on Friday and then Saturday and scored both times. 1 ball, no strikes. We're underway. Very comfortable afternoon, 75 degrees. It was in the upper 80s, low 90s yesterday. Winds out of the southwest at 8, so the wind is blowing out once again. There's the first strike from Prior. 2-1. Well, Bob, what are you looking for from Mark Prior today?
I think just the ability to pound that strike zone. I mean, first time back, the adrenaline is probably overflowing for Mark Prior. As long as he can stay consistent with his mechanics, stay consistent with his delivery, and find the edges of that strike zone. I don't worry too much about the velocity on the gun. Don't really worry too much about results either. Obviously, we'd like to see him get a victory and pitch well, but the ability to throw strikes, I think, is first and foremost in his mind today.
The 2-2 is fouled off. I think the biggest issue for Mark late last year was that he nibbled maybe a bit too much, and he had pretty high pitch counts. Did not allow him to get as deep into games as he would have liked. Well, it is lightly raining here at the ballpark, but here's the thought. If they thought it was going to be a heavy downpour, we probably would have started under a rain delay. Normally don't like to start and have rain in the first inning and possibly jeopardize your starting pitchers. Fly ball hit to deep right field, and Curtis Granderson has had an unbelievable weekend. From the south side of town, playing for the first time here at Wrigley Field. He doubled Friday, tripled yesterday, and a home run today in the first inning.
Fortunately, only a 3-game series. He won't have the opportunity to hit for the cycle in the first at bat of the ball games. Fastball right down the heart of the plate. Boy, Granderson is the best player in the history of baseball the last 3 days. He has really done it all out there on the field, flexing his muscles there with the leadoff homer.
That's his 10th home run of the year. And Polanco promptly smacks a single to center. the opening inning. These two guys, Polanco and Granderson, a combined 6 for 6 in the first inning this weekend.
That's a key to beating any team, is to keep the leadoff man off base. And if you can't keep the leadoff man off base, try to neutralize that number 2 hitter. And the Cubs pitching has not been able to do that in this series.
All right, now it's Vance Wilson. He's filling in for Pudge Rodriguez today. Jim Leland wanted to give his starting catcher a day to rest his legs. Had some cramps the other day, had to leave early. You know, Pudge wanted to catch Kenny Rogers today, a potential milestone day, and they were teammates in Texas. But Jim Leland knows that the big picture is you got to give your big guy some rest. And Bob, he wants to give him the entire day off. And that's why Vance Wilson is batting third and not lower in the order where you might normally see him. A very interesting reason, because of a double switch possibility. Jim Leland does not want to have to double switch out his catcher today.
It just doesn't even want to have the temptation of making a double switch in this ball game. Now, obviously, if the game were on the line late, I'm sure we would see Pudge if necessary.
Topped off the plate on the bunt. Womack over to cover. Bad throw by Pryor. He bounced it. And Polanco will move to third. Mark looked at his fingertips after the throw. I don't know if he just couldn't get a good handle on it or not. But he's in some trouble here. First and third, no outs.
Pryor just never really set himself going after this bunt. It's pounded down off of home plate, the high bouncer. Good shape right there, but that little fadeaway throw to first base doesn't get anything on it at all. Gives Tony Womack a horrible hop to try to handle. That's just a sloppy play on the part of Mark Pryor.
So sacrifice and then the error on the pitcher. And it's Maglio Ordonez. He had 3 hits yesterday. Is now 8 for his last 19. Back on the double switch, you may still wonder what that means. Well, a lot of times you're going to double switch out a position player near the bottom of the order, and the guy who comes in would hit 9th. So if you put Vance Wilson 7th or 8th, you would be tempted in the middle innings to double switch him out and the guy who comes in to hit 9th. But Jim Leland doesn't even want that possibility.
And look how it changed already the complexion of this ball game, having Vance Wilson hit third instead of Pudge Rodriguez. We would not have seen Pudge Rodriguez putting down a sac bunt in the first inning. But because it's Vance Wilson, a guy who normally would hit at the bottom of the order, Jim Leland decides to go ahead and take advantage, try to put down the sac bunt, and now the Tigers have it cooking.
The Cubs will take 2 outs in exchange for a run if they can get a double play ball. And a pitch to Ordonez is fouled back. See some of the rain coming down, but not raining hard. Carlos Guillen on deck. Mark Pryor, 25 years old, made his major league debut in '02. Second player chosen in the 2001 draft of USC. And the guy taken ahead of him is leading the American League in hitting, Joe Mauer. We'll see him next weekend in Minnesota. In fact, Mauer leading all of baseball at 380. Guy leading the National League is a former Cub, Nomar Garciaparra, with the Dodgers at 351.
Mark Pryor with a 92-mile-an-hour fastball up and into Ordonez 2 pitches before. We've seen in this series, if you can make Ordonez aware of both sides of the plate, you won't get the aggressive swings that you normally see from Maglio Ordonez. Stand him up with a pitch inside. He doesn't aggressively dive out over the plate after that next one.
2-2 on the Tigers cleanup man. The kick and the pitch popped up by Ordonez on the right side of the infield. Nevin calls off Womack at the last second. So that's the first out. And it'll bring up another guy who had 3 hits yesterday, Carlos Guillen. He knocked in 3, hit a 2-run homer in the first. It was Carlos Marmol, who gave up 3 in the first inning but then settled in. Gave up 4 overall in 6 innings, but took his first major league loss.
Well, Guillen is the number 5 hitter in this Tigers lineup, but Jim Leyland does like to use him to hit and run. He handles the bat very well. Start that runner at first, but they stay out of a potential double play, maybe even score another run on the play. I wouldn't be surprised to see a hit and run at some point in the sequence here.
The Granderson home run, his first career leadoff home run. I got to believe Granderson will end up maybe a number 3 hitter when it's all said and done, way down the road with his power. But right now, he's certainly been a terrific leadoff guy for Jim Leyland. You see the blue pin on the jersey of Carlos Guillen. We had the blue wristbands on. As Major League Baseball once again this year has joined the fight against prostate cancer. Cubs manager Dusty Baker is a prostate cancer survivor. They have the home run challenge this week, the 10th year they've done that to raise money toward the search for a cure for prostate cancer. Two balls and a strike. Mark Prior is just trying to get comfortable here in the first inning. But it's hard to be comfortable when you have 2 men on. And right now 1 out and a 3-1 count on a dangerous hitter. 20 pitches already here in the first inning. Fly ball hit to left field. It's deep. Sends Merton back, and that one is gone. And the Tigers continue their power surge in this series. They now have 15 extra base hits this weekend, and it's 4-0. They also have 9 first inning runs in the series.
Fastball down the heart of the plate, knee high. Boy, with the wind blowing out today, Guillen hit it plenty good. He almost runs past Vance Wilson down there at first base, who had gone back to tag up in the event Matt Merton made the catch. Very close to passing that runner at first base.
Well, you talk about being behind the 8 ball. This has gone on all weekend. Cubs gave up 4 in the first 2 innings Friday, 3 in the first yesterday, and 4 here in the opening inning today as Thames was pushed off the plate. Two home runs here in the inning.
Talked about Prior pounding that strike zone. He has been throwing strikes, unfortunately very hittable strikes over the heart of the plate. Got away with a 2-0 fastball right down the middle that time to Thames.
Prior normally in these starts is nearly unhittable. In his first start after being activated from the DL, going into today, 4-0, 6 innings in all 5 outings, and 1 earned run in 30 innings. Just 13 hits, but a different story here today. And Thames walks. Now, one of those outings coming off the DL, I guess finished the year in 02 on the disabled list, so his first start in 03, technically his first after coming off the DL. But if you took that one away, it would have been no runs allowed in 24 innings. Chris Shelton is number 7 hitter. Still only 1 out.
And so far, the only pitch that Mark Pryor's been able to get close to the strike zone is that 4-seam straight fastball. Every breaking ball he's thrown has stayed up in the zone and not taken the break. There's another one right there.
Boy, 28 pitches here in the first inning. Two and one on Chris Shelton.
Well, after this batter, whether he's retired or reaches base, you'd like to see one of his teammates go out there and give him a little bit of a blow. That's what Larry Rothschild did. Just try to break up the rhythm a little bit. Let Pryor regroup and go after the next hitter.
Fly ball center field, crushed. Man, 2-run homer. And it's 6-0. That was not a cheapie. Chris Shelton really got a hold of it, and they have hit 3 home runs here in the first.
Yeah, there was nothing cheap about this one. Blanco out on the outside corner. That pitch is belt high, middle of the plate. Exactly what Pryor and the Cubs had in mind for his first start back off of some very successful rehab outings.
Boy, and already action in the Cubs bullpen. Roberto Novoa is throwing. Glendon Rush was put on the disabled list to make room for Pryor on the active roster. Glendon with lower back spasms. Of course, we saw Angel Guzman in that short rush outing on Friday go 5 1/3. That was almost like a start for Guzman. So you knock him out of commission for a couple of days at the very least. And I feel like we talk about the same stuff almost on a daily basis. Bullpen getting taxed, an early deficit, and the ball got out of the Cubs bullpen. Mark trying to find it here in his first inning of the year. Bouncer. Ramirez backed up a couple steps. 2 away. And it'll be the pitcher Kenny Rogers before he even takes the mound. It'll be his first at bat of the year, a career 143 hitter. So Rogers will go to the mound with, at the very least, a 6-run cushion.
Kenny Rogers looks like he's not really interested in swinging the bat right here, which is, you know, to his credit, a smart move. He knows Mark Pryor's thrown a boatload of pitches already in this inning. Has a 6-run lead. He's going to make him throw a few more.
Pryor nearing 40 pitches. And here's the thing, even if he finds his effectiveness in the next few innings, the pitch total is so high that he's not going to be able to give you a lot of innings today. He took it for called strike 3. Boy, that was a rough one for Mark Pryor and the Cubs. 3 home runs for Detroit. 6-0. Cubs coming up. 7 outs, but they're down 6. Pierre, Womack, Ramirez, Nevin, Merton, Cedeno, Jones, Blanco, and Pryor. Henry's done a nice job filling in for Michael Barrett.
Take a look at the Tigers defensively. Marcus Thames, Curtis Granderson, and Maglio Ordonez once again across the outfield. Brandon Inge, Carlos Guillen, Placido Polanco, and Chris Shelton once again across the infield. The only change for the Tigers today, Vance Wilson doing the catching for veteran left-hander Kenny Rogers, looking for career victory number 200 here today. Get a look at his numbers on the season. He'll feature a sinker, a cutter, a changeup. Pitch is very similar in style to Tom Glavine. He's going to pound that outside corner with everything. He'll cut a ball inside on occasion just to keep a hitter honest. Does have a big over-the-top curveball he'll feature from time to time. As I mentioned before, real good fielder, real good pickoff move.
And Rogers was pretty excited. He is in his 18th season. He had been to Wrigley one previous time with the Mets. He was with the Mets for part of '99, but this is the first time the 41-year-old has ever pitched in this ballpark. And he's ready to work against Juan Pierre. First pitch, strike. Rogers dealt a perfect game back in 1994. '39th round pick of the Rangers in '82. A line and a 1-1. Bounced by Pierre. Rogers over to first quickly, getting the throw from Shelton. Yeah, there aren't too many guys you would put in Greg Maddox's category as far as fielding pitchers, but as you mentioned, Kenny Rogers, very good on the mound, and 4 times he's won a Gold Glove.
Well, you see how quickly from our Southwest.com RoboCam he broke off that mound, immediately got over there to first base. He doesn't wait to see what's going to happen. He knows his responsibility is to cover that bag. If Shelton can get back to the base, then that's fine, but if not, he's going to make sure he's over there ready to make a play.
Now Tony Womack. He looks at a strike. Well, there was no guarantee Kenny Rogers was ever going to get even one big league win. He didn't pitch until after he had signed with the Rangers. He was an outfielder in high school, and then he was a relief pitcher early on in his career. So the Cubs offense hopes he's not as sharp as he normally is. And the thing is, yesterday they caught a young Justin Verlander who was not on top of his game, and they had some base runners. They had 9 hits off Verlander. But once again, they struggled getting those runners home. The Cubs left 11 on base. They had 3 runs on 12 hits. And they put the leadoff man on base 6 times, but that guy scored only once. 1-2 offering, dropped down a bit, and the breaking ball gets him.
Yeah, Kenny Rogers will change his arm angle, especially to left-handed hitters. And the thing about it is he'll do it with his breaking ball. He'll do it with his fastball. He'll do it with his straight changeup. Some left-handed pitchers will drop down on 2-strike counts to lefties and throw this Laredo breaking ball, but he'll do it with all of his pitches, so you cannot sit on one specific pitch when you see him drop down.
And it's going to be a quick 1-2-3 first inning for Kenny Rogers. 6-0 Detroit to the second. the first inning, and they sent all 9 to the plate. So Granderson, who led off the game with a home run, will lead off the second inning. There was one unearned run in there because of the throwing error by Mark Pryor. And starts the second inning with a strike. Mark threw 39 pitches in the first inning. So he is almost halfway to the theoretical pitch count.
Kenny Rogers threw 8 pitches in the first inning.
Ooh. 98th career start for Pryor. Got to be ready for the rain. I don't think it is raining at the moment. Very lightly in the first inning. Granderson went around. That's a strikeout. Number 2 for Mark. And here comes Polanco for the second time today.
And a good sign. A couple of good breaking balls in the sequence here from Mark Pryor. Maybe just overthrowing that pitch in the first inning. That time got Granderson to check his swing on a pitch down and in. On appeal to Tim McClellan III, he said he went too far. Good start here to the second.
Polanco singled and scored in the first. Curve for a strike. Because of the home runs, the Tigers were able to score 6 on only 4 hits. Two and one on Polanco.
Polanco 6 for 10 in this series. Has scored 5 runs in the first 2 games plus an inning. Been a busy man in that 2 spot in the lineup.
Another bender for a strike. 2-2. One of the big problems for Mark. You go back the last 3 years, including this year, just 1 Cactus League appearance because of injury. So he has started late perpetually. Had the Achilles and elbow in 04, the elbow last year. Brought along slowly to start spring training this year to avoid those earlier injury problems. And then in mid-March came down with that strained shoulder. Busted bat, 1 hopper. It's backhanded by Cedeno. The throw over to Nevin. Nice play by Ronnie Cedeno. The Cubs played excellent defense yesterday, made a bunch of highlight reel plays. Unfortunately, they trailed early, but the defense, at least for a while, kept them in it.
Nice defensive play right here from our RoboCam. Goes in the hole and rounds it off, keeps his momentum going rather than planting his foot and trying to make the strong overhand throw, and gets it over there in plenty of time to get Polanco. You know, some shortstops would get to this ball, make the backhand play, plant that right foot and try to throw across the infield, but Ronnie's got such a strong arm when he throws on the move that he chose just to keep his momentum going and throw on the run.
Well, it seems as if Mark has his curveball now here in the second. Dropped in a few strikes. And Wilson with a defensive swing just to hang in. 91 that time from Pryor on the fastball. Cubs a season low 15 under. And beginning the day 15 out in 5th in the National League Central. Wilson hit by a pitch. He'll take his base.
We talked about it with Maglio Ordonez, but it applies to any hitter in any lineup. You have to keep him honest. That time the ball just gets away from Pryor, sails up and in, and clips Vance Wilson on the back of that left arm. Not advocating that you just start drilling guys willy-nilly, but you do need to pitch on both sides of the plate to keep them off that outside corner.
Jones drifting over, and he retires Ordonez. So Pryor hits that batter with 2 outs, but no runs. 6-0. you by Walgreens Pharmacy of the Chicago Cubs. 11-year-old Jacob Bergrotsky of South Elgin, Illinois. Kayla Slimak, 11, from Aurora. They're having a great day at Wrigley thanks to our friends at Walgreens and the Chicago Cubs. For more information on how to be a celebrity bat kid, go to WGNradio.com. Yeah, when you see the Walgreens celebrity bat kids, it makes you want to wave back at the screen, doesn't it? Here's Phil Nevin. Well, a happy Father's Day to Governor Blagojevich, his daughter Abby. I guess it's her first game here at Wrigley.
And she will sample every delicacy here at Wrigley Field today, starting with the frozen lemonade.
2-1. Did you get a call from everybody today?
Yes, indeed. Surprisingly enough, I did.
Junior, remember to call, huh?
Yep.
That's good.
Maybe with a little prompting from Mom, but that's all right.
Three and one on Phil Nevin. And the pitch from Rogers is popped up by Nevin. Polanco going out, but Ordonez with a better angle on it coming in. Well, again, the happiest of Father's Day to all the dads out there. One of our great viewers, Stephen Patron, wanted to wish a happy Father's Day to his dad, Ray. Knoxville, Tennessee. Dad lives in Monroe, Louisiana. Of course, Cub fans all over the country tuning in today. And unfortunately, at the top of your screen, if you just joined us, that is not a mistake. The Tigers with early runs again. 6 in the first inning. They hit 3 home runs off Mark Pryor.
That's the bad news. The good news is Mark Pryor's top of the second inning was much better.
WGN will throw out Merton. I know I've asked you this many times before, but it unfortunately bears repeating. When you're down this big early, does it change your offensive approach? I mean, Ronnie's digging in for the first time today. Do you change anything? Do you take maybe an extra pitch or two? How do you look at it? That
used to be the rule of thumb in baseball. If you found yourself down by a lot of runs early in the ball game, everybody in the lineup was taking at least one strike.
Cedeno swung at the first pitch, and Guillen's going to throw him out.
Okay.
So 6 up, 6 down to start it for Kenny Rogers. Happy Father's Day, 06. A lot of kids with Dad today. And it's Mark Pryor against Carlos Guillen. Third inning. Pryor did not give up a hit in the second. He did hit Vance Wilson with 2 outs, but got out of it unscathed after a rocky first inning. Guillen hit a big 3-run homer. And it's great to have with us Carolyn Adams, the superintendent of the Illinois Lottery. We talk about our friends from the Illinois Lottery all the time. Carolyn, great to have you with us today.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
And how are things going at the lottery?
Better than ever. Sales are up. Contributions to the Common School Fund, which funds education, is at an all-time high, and we are in the midst of the biggest promotion in Illinois Lottery history, Set for Life.
Now tell us about Set for Life.
Set for Life is a summer second chance promotion where players will have an opportunity to send in $30 worth of non-winning instant tickets as well as pick and play tickets to get Set for Life. $100,000 a year for the rest of your life, or cash for a car every year, and also cash for a vacation every year for the rest of your life.
Now, Bob was asking me earlier. I didn't know the answer. He said, "Was Carolyn bringing just a big pile of cash up here?" We don't see any. Was that part of the deal?
It's actually in my bag.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we were hoping to be set for life after your visit today.
Yeah, there you go. Some cash. One of the vendors down there.
Right.
Now, how do people enter Set for Life, that promotion?
You send in $30 worth of non-winning tickets.
Okay.
All of the information is on our website, or you can enter the tickets through our website. And you have until September 1st. We're going to have a huge grand finale event right here in Wrigley Field to kind of award all of the players, and it's going to be a good time.
How do people find out if, in fact, they are a finalist?
Every single week for 16 weeks, we are going to notify one winner every week, and that is how they'll find out if they are a winner.
And the last date again, it's going to be later this summer, right?
September.
September 1st. All right, still have a few months.
Right.
That's great. Well, hang with us here. We're going to have a ball with the Illinois Lottery coming up.
Absolutely.
And we're big fans of second chances. We think
right.
everybody in life deserves a second chance, so I think this is a great promotion.
Nice catch by Ramirez on the hot shot hit by Timms. So time now to have a ball with the Illinois Lottery. Jeremy Piven, outstanding actor, got a lot going on this summer. Entourage is back on the air throughout the ceremonial first pitch, and he will handle our 7th inning stretch duties. It's a great thing we do every WGN broadcast. Today's Have a Ball from our friends at the Illinois Lottery. So 2 down here in the inning, and it's Chris Shelton. He hit a 2-run homer in the first inning. Big swing and a miss.
Boy, what a difference it's made for Mark Pryor to find that breaking pitch. Get those Tigers hitters off of that fastball. Yeah, at least give them a second option of something they have to look for.
And that one hit very hard. It'll be a 2-out hit. All right, Carolyn, anything else we missed as far as getting people into the Set for Life promotion? We'd miss any loose ends?
Just to play all of the instant tickets that are specially marked. On the tickets it says Set for Life, and our brand new games, which is pick and play. It includes Monopoly, poker, Lucky Dough, and a bingo ticket. So that is our brand new game. It's doing extremely well, and those tickets are included in the promotion.
Well, we do the drawings at our WGN studios.
That is correct. I had fun the other day. Actually, I announced the first winner, so that was a lot of fun.
Oh, that must be a ton of fun.
Yes.
It's fun giving out money, isn't it?
Oh my gosh, but I'm sure it's more fun receiving it.
Sure, absolutely. Well, Carolyn, we appreciate you spending some time with us. You feel free to hang in the booth here. We like to call it the best view in all of baseball.
This is fantastic. It is the best view. And on a beautiful Father's Day.
Certainly is. Curveball strike on Brandon Inge. Carolyn Adams, the superintendent of the Illinois Lottery, with us today. So So Shelton singled with 2 outs. Inge, the number 8 hitter, bounced to third in the first, and he bounces to short here in the third. That'll end the inning. Tigers 6, Cubs nothing, with the Cubs coming to bat in inning number 3. Let's pause for station identification. Cubs without a base runner in the first 2 innings against a veteran southpaw, Kenny Rogers. Catches the outside corner against Jock Jones. Jock had 3 hits yesterday, 5 for his last 12. But he has never gotten a hit against Kenny Rogers. He's 0 for 14 in his career. And it's going to be 0 for 15 as Polanco throws him out. Don't miss out on your chance to own part of historic Wrigley Field. Authentic bricks from the walls of Wrigley Field are available to be purchased at Cubs.com. For more information and to order, visit Cubs.com, where baseball is always on. So you can have your own brick. I have one. Not sure what part of the ballpark it came from. 1-0 on Henry Blanco, but it is proudly displayed in my home. Henry has been great at the plate. 5-game hitting streak. Michael Barrett is available to pinch hit. He still has not heard back from MLB regarding his 10-game suspension and exactly how many games it will be after the appeal on Friday. But the back, he tweaked on Thursday, and we have not seen Michael since in the lineup. We've seen him, but not on the field. It's been Henry Blanco this weekend. That is at the knees for a strike. Now, theoretically, let's say Michael finds out Tuesday. Cubs, of course, can't replace him on the roster, so they'll play with 24 men during the suspension. So then it comes down to, what do you want to do with your roster? Henry Blanco, deep left field. This ball has a chance, and it is gone. Henry Blanco with his 2nd home run. He continues his torrid streak at the plate. Got it up in the air. The wind is not blowing out necessarily to left, but he hit it far enough, and it's 6-1. He hit a home run on Friday, so that's 2 home runs this year, both this weekend.
Looked like Rogers tried to cut a fastball in on the hands of Henry Blanco, just left it on the inside part of the plate. Nice quick swing. No stride at all from Henry, just uses his hands, gets that ball up in the air and rides it out of here to left field. Our Southwest.com, how far did it fly? Far enough, 360 feet.
So because of the pitching situation, there's no guarantee that the Cubs, when Michael starts to serve his suspension, will bring up a backup catcher. You have Phil Nevin, who has caught in the past, and Dusty talked today about Nevin being the backup to Henry Blanco. But what that does, it means that Nevin wouldn't be able to be the DH in the American League parks coming up this week, because if Henry then were to have to leave the game, if Nevin came out of the DH spot, then you lose that spot. So we'll probably see Nevin at first base, and Dusty has to come up with another DH. Then if there's an injury back of the plate, you move Nevin, and then if it's a significant injury, you maybe make a roster move and bring up another catcher.
Well, that's the reality of the situation. They call it an emergency catcher for a reason. You only use him in an emergency, as Pryor grounds to third base, second out of the inning. And in the meantime, if there were an injury to Henry Blanco, Phil Nevin had to go back behind the plate for the last 6 or 7 innings of a ball game. In the meantime, you're on the phone to Iowa, and you get yourself a full-time catcher up here before the ball game the next day. So I don't think it's as desperate a situation carrying only one legitimate catcher on the roster for a limited amount of time.
The Hank White fan club loves it. In fact, I think the membership has just grown exponentially the last week or so. Henry got off to a very slow start, but remember last year he had a very slow offensive first half and then really lit it up in the second half. So he's just done it a little bit earlier this year. Certainly limited time, but he's played a lot more lately. Popped up on the bunt. I'll tell you what, Vance Wilson didn't really have a shot at that ball, but another step or so and he would have gotten to it. He shot out from behind the plate about as quickly as you can from back there.
Well, he had the best angle on it. I mean, when you see that bat come out in front of you in the strike zone, you know whether the barrel of the bat is dropped. Is the barrel of the bat up in the air? Get a good look at it from our Southwest.com RoboCam. I mean, we talk about outfielders getting a good jump on the ball. That was an instance where a catcher got a real good jump because he knew the bat angle and where the ball was likely to be fouled.
Well, good job by Juan Pierre. He Fernando Vina'd that. That's becoming a verb now in Major League Baseball. Leadoff hitters kind of try to get out of the way, or at least make it look that way. He didn't really try to get out of the way, but you rarely see it called. The umpire will keep a batter at the plate in that situation.
There's a way you can kind of turn your body to make it appear you're getting out of the way of the pitch, while at the same time your arm and your knee go further into the strike zone.
Boy, Vina was so good at that. You're right, he would actually turn into the pitch, but make it look like he was trying to avoid it. And what you have to have is very solid pitch recognition abilities, because not that Kenny Rogers is a hard thrower, but you certainly would like to lean into a breaking ball at 76 versus a fastball at 93. Well, he had him leaning there, didn't he?
And that's not Kenny Rogers' best move. I mean, Juan Pierre, I'm sure, has studied a lot of videotape of Kenny Rogers and his move to first base, and being the crafty veteran that he is, Rogers is not going to show his good move right away. He's going to try to set a runner up.
Well, that's twice. I don't think Juan was running with the Cubs down 5 against the guy with a great move, but he didn't immediately go back to first on either of those pickoff attempts. 86 career pickoffs for Kenny Rogers, second all time. They began to keep that stat in 1974. Mark Langston, number 1. I love the list, Bob. All lefties. Langston, Rogers, Greg Swindell, the big unit, Andy Pettitte.
I can't believe Randy Johnson on that list. That's what amazes me. He has a terrible pickoff move.
But he's left-handed, and he's been around for a long time.
He's left-handed, and he will get base runners who break for second base on first movement. And even a bad pickoff move is going to pick off a lot of runners if they're going on first movement. And the other guys on that list are all known for having a good pickoff move. Johnson, the only one that doesn't.
Womack was late. Fastball at 88 on Kenny Rogers, but everything else is slower. Can make that heater look faster than it is. Slide step this time, and Shelton will step on the bag. That ends the inning. Blanco with a home run. It's now 6-1. Six to 1 Tigers. And Mark Pryor starts Kenny Rogers with a strike. Since a very rough first inning, Pryor has allowed one hit. His battery mate with a home run, putting the Cubs on the board in the third inning. So Henry is now hitting 6 in a row.
There was another one of those breaking balls we haven't seen since the first inning from Pryor, the one that just gets out of his hand and never takes the break. Another one.
Pryor led the National League last year in strikeouts per 9 innings, 10.2. Henry thought that was a strike. But that was not the call from the home plate umpire Marty Foster. So it's 3-2 on Kenny Rogers. A bouncer past Pryor, but no problem for Womack. Chicago Cubs baseball on WGN Sports, your summer baseball station, is brought to you by Budweiser. Well, that sounds good. Bright, crisp, clean, pure. This is Budweiser. This is beer. Now the Cubs 0-5 on the homestand, trying to avoid their first winless homestand of 6 or more since '97. when they went 0-6 against Florida, Atlanta, and Colorado. And they have not had a lead in this series because the Tigers have jumped on them right off the bat all 3 days. Granderson and Polanco have been huge in the first inning. When we talk about first inning runs, just it gives your team so much confidence. And on the flip side, when you're down early, multiple runs, it makes you think a little bit more as an offense, maybe change your game plan a bit. Granderson with another hit, a 1-out single here in the 4th inning.
Well, certainly based on what we've seen in this series and the kind of year that Granderson is having, I think we're seeing a star starting to blossom here. This guy really does everything on the field well. We saw him hit for power his first at bat. That time a very controlled contact swing, just drove the ball back up the middle of the field.
You think about the outs Polanco's made the last 2 days. I mean, yesterday he went 3 for 5, but I've got a star next to the 2 outs he made. Cedeno with a nice play in the 4th, and then Mabry with a nice catch in the 7th. So he could have been 5 for 5 yesterday, and then you had Ronnie making that terrific play today. So Polanco theoretically could be working on a 7 for 7. You go back to Friday, he did strike out in his second at bat, but the other out he made, he lined out. So he has been locked in.
Well, and if his track record holds true, he's looking for a pitch right here that he can drive through that hole in the right side of the infield. Polanco's a guy that understands the percentages of the game and where the hits are on the field. And right now the base hits are on the right side on the ground.
And Novoa is throwing once again. This could be the final inning for Pryor.
Well, he's approaching the projected pitch count. As we mentioned, there was no hard and fast number of pitches for Mark Pryor today, but we guessed somewhere between 90 and 100, and he's already up to the 85 pitch mark.
He threw 39 in the first inning. Granderson's running, and it's knocked down by Pryor. He will throw to first to get the out. It's always a little scary when a guy hits a comebacker at any pitcher, but particularly Mark Pryor, who took that liner last year off the right elbow. But he was able to knock it down with a glove hand. That ball was scalded by Polanco. So another hard hit ball by Placido Polanco.
Pryor able to get a glove on it, at least knock it down. Ball seems to come back a lot faster than it goes in, but Pryor able to stay with it to get the out at first base, and he appears to be okay out there.
No official at bat for Wilson. A sacrifice reached on the error in the first and then hit by the pitch in the second. Well, I have to give Mark Pryor some props because recently we were talking about Juan Pierre wearing the old-fashioned stirrups. And I said I think he's the only guy I can think of, but Mark Pryor wears the stirrups as well. He's got the pant bottoms hiked up just like JP. Not too many guys wear those real stirrups anymore.
Ankle biters.
Yeah. One to Wilson. Now 2 balls and a strike.
You know, that's a fashion that has really changed over the years in baseball. Just the way guys wear their socks. What you see from Pryor and Juan Pierre is pretty much the way everybody used to wear them back in the olden day. And then they started putting elastic on the bottom of the stirrup so they would stretch higher up.
Fly ball hit to deep right, sending Jones back, and that is a home run for a backup catcher Vance Wilson with his second of the year. That is a fourth home run allowed by Mark Pryor. And it's now 8-1.
Solid contact with the barrel of the bat on a fastball out over the plate. Can't say Wilson was trying to go that direction, but the results certainly were good for the Tigers.
That will signal the end of Mark Pryor's afternoon. 88 pitches today for Pryor, and he will exit with 2 outs in the 4th inning. Gave up 4 home runs today. Mark gave up 4 home runs. That tied a career high in the category where you don't want to reach your career high very often. The Tigers now as a team with 93 home runs on the year. Two strikes on Maglio Ordonez, who has not gotten in on the act offensively for Detroit. He's 0 for 2. With guys like Granderson, Polanco, Wilson, Guillen, Shelton, they have spread it around early. They're only 8th in the American League in runs. I'll tell you what, you can make some comparisons between the 06 Tigers, at least through 2.5 months, and the 05 White Sox. They hit a lot of home runs. They don't have the speed that the White Sox had, but they pitch so well. They also catch the baseball. They're leading the majors in earned run average. And when you do that, you don't have to lead the league in runs. Just have to be good enough. And we've seen a very good Tiger offense this weekend.
And as you mentioned, they're just a fundamentally sound team. They know what needs to be done in every situation that comes up. I'm sure they've had some games this year where they kick the ball around a little bit.
Another one hit well, but Jock Jones, oh, he fell down. He made the catch. Hopefully he's all right. Looked like he slipped just as he got onto the warning track, took a tumble. And his teammate picking up his sunglasses. Nice catch by Jock Jones, 8-1. start, and then after Mark Pryor was replaced by Roberto Novoa, Jock Jones made an unbelievable catch as he was falling down out and right. Retired Maglio Ordonez. The thing you worry about here, Jock, on the last road trip, tweaked his back a little bit. Probably didn't feel too good, but what a catch.
He was fooled a little bit by how hard that ball was hit off the bat of Maglio Ordonez. Had to retreat quickly to the warning track and able to make that circus catch, tumbling up into the vines. Now, if you have a tweak in your lower back, that was a tweak enhancer right there. That will make you remember what it felt like when it hurt.
Outside on Ramirez. And we want to welcome back Freddie Bynum, and our sympathies go out to his family. Freddie was back home for his grandfather's funeral yesterday. Ramirez smokes this one. This one's going to get way out onto Waveland. 8-2. 2 home runs for the Cubs. Both solo shots, and obviously Kenny Rogers going right after the Cub hitters.
Boy, get out your tape measures on this one. Aramis Ramirez just puts a charge into this ball. Over the fence, over the bleachers, over Waveland Avenue, way out there.
2 hits for the Cubs, both home runs, Blanco and Ramirez. And Freddie, by the way, going back home means North Carolina. But Bynum back and available today. 1-1 on Phil Nevin. He flied to right in the second. Dunk that one into center in front of Granderson. First 2 men with hits here in the fourth.
Take one more look at Aramis Ramirez, 12th home run of the season. Boy, lightning quick on that pitch down and in our Southwest.com. How far did it fly? Well, if it lands on that area of Waveland, it's 395 feet.
Great shots from Lonnie Thomas atop the scoreboard. So he gets a good look at Waveland. Way inside on Merton.
If Kenny Rogers comes that far inside, you can be pretty sure he meant to do it. He's got pinpoint control. He'll cut that fastball in like he just did to Matt Merton and then sink it away, change ups away. Wilson moves out onto the outside corner.
Past the diving Rogers. They will turn 2, 6-4-3. You rarely see a pitcher sprawl out like Rogers did as he ended up diving off the mound. Didn't get it. Looks like he's okay. Well, you hold your breath if you're Kenny Rogers, pitching coach and manager. Look at that.
We talked about what a great fielder he is. It's probably fortunate for the Tigers that he didn't get a piece of that ball. It went right to the shortstop Guillen for an easy double play. If Rogers deflects that ball at all, maybe everybody's safe. But you got to appreciate the effort out there.
It kind of landed on his pitching shoulder.
I mean, look at this effort right here. Yeah, usually pitchers just get out of the way of anything hit back through the box.
Well, the theory, I guess, would be if you're the pitcher and nobody hits one by you, you're going to have a lot of success.
Just ask Greg Maddux.
Yeah. Another ground ball surrounded by Guillen. Throws off that back foot. Gets the out. Ramirez with a leadoff homer. It's now 8-2.
On Wednesday, June 28th, watch the Cubs take on the Brewers at 1:20. The first 6,000 children 13 and under will receive an exclusive Chicago Cubs Len the Bear from Build-A-Bear Workshop. Compliments of Bank of America. For more information, visit Cubs.com or just call Len.
Looking forward to it. You get into that read.
I like that one.
Yeah. Well, there's a Bob the Bear coming up later in the season. We're just building up to that. Novoa got the final out of the fourth and working here in the fifth. All Tigers once again to start it. Well, this has been a very frustrating homestand, to say the least. The Cubs were feeling pretty good after a 6-4 road trip. Golfed into deep right center, and Pierre trudging and runs it down. Well, everything that has been hit by the Tigers seemingly has either gone out or deep in the ballpark.
Now, this has been the kind of series, if you were the visiting team and saw this happen, you would think that maybe the home team was stealing signs from the scoreboard or something. I mean, every Tigers hitter, every time they swing the bat, they're squaring it up, hitting a hard ground ball, a hard line drive, or a deep fly ball.
Yet another one. Tim's gone. That is his 14th. And that's number 5 today for the visitors. I had the note earlier on the homestand. The Cubs have been out homered by a wide margin here at Wrigley Field this year.
Power up and down this Tigers lineup. Marcus Thames, the latest to flex his muscle. Boy, caught that at full extension. Man, oh man. Buddy Jimmy Farrell's going to have to go back down in the umpire's room and rub up some more baseballs at this rate.
Good friend Jimmy Farrell, and certainly happy Father's Day to Jimmy. Hitters count for Chris Shelton.
Well, you talk about swagger. You hear it all the time. Teams that win, they carry themselves with a certain swagger. It's not necessarily arrogance, just confidence that they know what they're doing and they know they're playing the game the right way. And the Tigers have waltzed into here with quite the swagger this weekend.
And it seems like teams that have that, when they smell blood, they just jump all over you. That's a strike. 3-2. Swing and a miss and a strikeout. Out number 2 here in the inning. Don't forget to check out our WGN Baseball blog, brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. On the blog today, I have a post about the prior comeback and the state of affairs for the Cubs. Jim Hendry's comments on the pending suspension, that appeal heard, Michael Barrett on Friday. Pat and Ron's 7th inning stretch performance from Friday, a great photo gallery of the friendly confines. As always, thank you, Dunkin' Donuts, and we'll have a new podcast available tomorrow. Recorded a new one in the dugout. High in the air, Jones at the warning track. Can you believe this? Brandon Inge finds the basket. 6 home runs for the Tigers. Well, you had that game against Atlanta. Got to go back and I tried to erase it from my memory. They hit all those home runs, but 6 for Detroit today. My goodness.
Man, not a cheapie in the bunch. I mean, we talked about it yesterday. When you're getting 13 and 14 home runs from the guys at the bottom of your batting order, you know you've got a pretty solid lineup.
Now the Braves hit 8 home runs on that wild Sunday afternoon. That was on the 28th of May. 13-12 Atlanta win in 11 innings.
Kenny Rogers once again doing his fadeaway up there at the plate. Doesn't look like he has any intention of swinging that bat. Just wants to force Novoa to throw as many pitches as possible to get him out.
And Novoa strikes him out, looking 6 homers now for the Tigers. It's 10-2. While we have a moment, let's step aside and see what's coming up on WGN. A lot of Tiger fans have come to Wrigley this weekend, and unfortunately they've had a lot to cheer about. The Cub fans have not all week. Cub fans, I guess, have had a lot to cry about. Really all season, they just have not gotten hot for any length of time. The Cubs' longest winning streak, 3. Jock Jones starts the bottom of the 5th inning. Kenny Rogers getting all kinds of support today as he tries to win his 200th game. He would become only the 26th left-handed pitcher in Major League history to reach 200. Glavine, Johnson, Wells, Moyer are the only active left-handers with 200 wins. It's Tom Glavine, Randy Johnson, David Wells, Jamie Moyer. Jones grounds out. And the Cubs take on the Brewers at 1:20 on Thursday, June 29th, and the first 20,000 fans will receive a scratch and win card. 100 random winners will get an exclusive limited edition Wilson A2000 Youth Baseball Glove compliments of Kellogg's. Fans are encouraged to hold on to their cards for second chance drawings throughout the game. No purchase necessary. For complete rules, visit Cubs.com. Gotten a lot of emails today wanting to send out happy Father's Day wishes, and We've done it for a few people. We'll try to get in a few here as well. We can't do it for everybody, but again, we want to say happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. Cubs would also like to extend best wishes to big Cub fans Tessa Moen and Zach Rigdon. They're getting married coming up next weekend. And Rich and Bee Fuse celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary, also coming up next weekend. Two and one. I also got a note, happy 6th birthday, Sydney. Best Father's Day gift ever, but I don't know who Dad is. But they just send it up. So somebody's here, and I wanted to wish Sydney a happy birthday. Henry Blanco continues his surge. 2 for 2 today.
Slugged a home run back in the 3rd inning of this ball game. If my math is correct with that base hit into left field, Henry Blanco has now worked his way up over the 200 mark. It may not seem like much, but when you start the season in an offensive hole the way Henry did, he has really had to grind hard lately to get that average up over the 200 mark.
Yeah, he started 3 for 43, was hitting .070, and he is now over 200. Novoa batting here in the 5th. And Michael Barrett at some point soon will serve a suspension. He's back, not feeling great. 6, 4, 3. That's a double play, and that's it for the Cubs in the 5th. They trail by 8. Time to check out today's Honda Ridgeline game summary. A 6-run first inning for Detroit. The Tigers in all have hit 6 home runs in 5 innings. Curtis Granderson, Chicago native, 2 for 3. Mark Pryor, a rough debut here in 06, coming off the disabled list. Henry Blanco, 2 for 2, and Aramis Ramirez with his 12th home run. Honda Ridgeline, the 2006 Motor Trend Truck of the Year. See it today at your Honda dealer. Top of the order once again for the Tigers. Well, we get a lot of emails. We have our blog, and we read a lot of posts. I check out a lot of other Cubs baseball related blogs. We talk to a lot of fans, and we feel your frustration. And this has been painful to watch for everybody involved. And it's been very frustrating in the dugout, on the field, in the front office. And Bob, I think we all wish the answer was simple and it was just a quick, the Cubs have to do this, but they just haven't been able to get all the areas working together at the same time. Ground ball hit by Granderson as he rolled over on that pitch, and Nevin just beat him to first base. I mean, we talked about it the other day. When you get good pitching, it seems like the offense is in a funk. When you get the offense going, you don't get that consistent starting pitching. The bullpen has been a strength all year, but maybe a few cracks along the way because it's been overworked.
I don't know what the answer is. I mean, I've been in the dugout before when a team has gone south, and sometimes you try everything and nothing seems to work. I mean, the bottom line is this is an outmanned team right now. Whether you want to hang it on Derek Lee, Mark Pryor, Kerry Wood, Scott Williamson being on the disabled list, but I think it goes a lot deeper than that.
Bouncer hit by Polanco, cut off by Ramirez, and Nevin came back on the bag in time to get Polanco 2 outs in the inning.
Rami ranging far to his left here, makes a nice play, and a nice play over at first base by Nevin as well. Once you leave your feet to go up for that ball, you're not quite sure where that base is when you come down, and fortunately for the Cubs, he comes down right in the middle of the bag.
All the runs the Tigers have today have come via the home runs. 6 home runs leading to 10 tallies.
3 solos, a couple of 2-run shots, and a 3-run bomb. Both Cubs home runs have been solo shots. I mean, you hit the nail on the head, Len. There's been times when the ball club has pitched very well, but they haven't scored runs. There's been times when they scored a bunch of runs but couldn't get the other team out. There have been times this season that the defense has been shoddy, although I think that's been one of the most constants that the Cubs have had. Most of the time they play pretty good defense. At times the base running has been abysmal. I mean, it's just a combination of factors that add up to the Cubs being where they're at in the standings right now. I think they've earned their spot in the standings right now.
1-2 pitch, and Wilson chops it to third. So Novoa keeping the ball on the ground. 3 ground ball outs. 10-2 Detroit. Ten Cubs 2, bottom of the 6th inning. Kenny Rogers pretty much has cruised. He's given up 2 home runs, but no big deal. Solo shots. Hasn't had to work from the stretch a whole lot. He signed a free agent contract in December. 2-year deal with the Tigers. And if you haven't seen this team play and you're wondering, okay, what happened? This team has been a sub 500 team every year. I mean, the last winning season going into this year, 93. They lost 119 games in 03. They were 20 under last year. Pierre into right and snagged by Ordonez. Well, they have a new manager, Jim Leland. That's certainly part of it. Rogers has been a big help. Todd Jones, their closer, for the most part has gotten it done when you look at the saves, but has had some major struggles lately. It's a nice catch by Ordonez. But I think the one thing you pinpoint is that their young players are here and now really doing the job. Granderson, Verlander, Zumaya. And you brought up a good point off the air the other day about some of the guys who were banged up and are healthy. And health is a big part of it, as you know so well. I mean, they're without Mike Moroth, one of their starting pitchers. But that really hasn't hurt him with him on the DL at this point. Guillen is healthy. Ordonez is healthy. Boy, that's huge.
It makes a big difference when you can run, especially your regular lineup and your starting pitching. When you can keep those guys on a regular rotation on the mound, when you can keep your position players at their positions, you can get some continuity on defense. The outfielders know how much ground the other guys can cover, who's responsible for which balls in the gap. The infielders on double play balls, their timing has been impeccable in this series. Makes a big difference when you can keep all your horses out there in the lineup at the same time.
And role players like Chris Shelton got off to a huge start. Let's pause briefly for station ID. Two from Rogers. And the other thing, a lot has been talked about Kenny Rogers coming in and being a mentor to some of the young pitchers, particularly left-handers like Nate Robertson. And he has been great with the young pitchers. But as Jim Leland said, the guy can pitch. That's the main reason he's here. And it helps when you're 9-3 with a 325. And he likely today will become a 200-game winner. Tiger rotation really hasn't had a guy like that the last few years.
Well, Rogers, the mentor of the starting rotation, and you mentioned Todd Jones in the bullpen, who's, as you mentioned, for the most part been pretty good, but brings a wealth of experience to that bullpen. A veteran guy that's been a long man. He's been a closer. He's been a setup guy, and with the youngsters that they have in that bullpen, he is a great guy to mentor them in their approach to go into a ball game. So just I think this falls into that general category of chemistry that we talk about, the right mix of guys together, taking advantage of the experience of the veterans and the enthusiasm of the youngsters.
A wind and a 3-2 pitch, little floater, and that sinking liner handled by Guillen. Looking ahead to July, Friday, July 14th, the Cubs will take on the New York Mets at 1:20. The first 10,000 fans will get a Cubs gray t-shirt, compliments of Pepsi. That'll be the first game of the second half. And hey, a special thanks to the folks from Moonlight Graham, John and Debbie. They sent us a couple of these great no pepper allowed t-shirts that we were talking about the other day. Our producer Pete Toma was wearing.
That might be the nicest piece of clothing I have in my wardrobe right now.
Other than your WGN logo.
Oh, of course.
Outfits. 1-1 to Ramirez, and inside. Just wanted to add about Kenny Rogers. You know, his reputation took a hit last year. Everyone remembers that incident with the cameramen while he was with Texas. Certainly an embarrassing incident, but that seems to have been an exception rather than the norm with Rogers.
Well, the reality is he wasn't brought here to Detroit to help media relations. He's brought here to pitch and win ball games. And, you know, there's never really been any complaints about Kenny Rogers as a teammate. He's certainly had his problems with the media from time to time. But I think every player in baseball at some point would like to do what Kenny Rogers did. Of course, it was very inappropriate, and he paid his penalty for it. But he wasn't brought in here to tutor the youngsters on media relations.
Here he comes on a 2-2 and a breaking ball at 70. Couldn't find the zone. You never broke any cameras or recorders or anything, did you?
Well, I'll tell you, in my managerial career, there were a few times when they would attach that RoboCam to the railing like 6 inches away from your face, and everywhere you moved, it moved. You know, it got to the place where sometimes deep in a ball game like this, when you're on the bottom end, you're tired of that RoboCam in your face. So I politely suggested to the RoboCam operator that he get shots of somebody else for a couple innings.
Outside, and he walks. It's interesting. We were thinking about a RoboCam here in the booth, right next to where you sit, but we might have to reconsider.
I mean, seriously, can you imagine having one of those following your every move, and I mean literally a matter of a foot away from your face?
Big Brother is watching.
Oh, man. Well, we love the technology in our job up here. It gives us some great shots here at Wrigley Field. Angles that we wouldn't normally get. And, you know, certainly television has been great for the game of baseball. There's no question that baseball has benefited from television's coverage. But at times, players, managers, coaches feel it's a little intrusive. You know, like when the cameraman is running down the third baseline as a guy is scoring on a home run.
Boy, just told here that we were going to break out the nostril cam on the next homestand. So, what was the one in front of home plate, right? Didn't Posada have a little problem with that?
Yeah, they had a little, I think they call it a lipstick cam buried in the dirt out in front of home plate. With the technology we have nowadays, yep, have x-rays taken during the game.
Well, Nevins pulled a couple of balls pretty hard foul in this sequence. So you would not be into that. Sometimes on the internet you have people who have the 24-hour cam.
Oh.
Like all the time, watching every move.
I don't.
You would not be into that.
Don't think that's going to happen anytime soon.
Inside, 1-2. Hey, the Cubs announced today that they have agreed in principle with their 5th-round pick, the guy who threw off the mound the other day, Jeff Samardzija, the right-handed pitcher / wide receiver from Notre Dame. Contract still subject to the approval of Major League Baseball. Samardzija, the 149th overall selection in the draft. Lifted center field, Granderson over, and he makes the catch. And the Samardzija press conference is on our WGN blog. Check. Time now for our Bud Light Fan Cam as we celebrate dear old dads on Father's Day at Wrigley.
With his stogie and a pole, seagull keeps the bugs at bay. That's what my old man told me.
Dear Old Dad by Victor Anthony. Thanks for that great track. Joelle Anthony sent that to us, big Cub fan, and the song was written and performed by her husband Victor and available on the LP Skinny Bones. So 1 out as we play the 7th. Ordonez pops out to Cedeno. Jeremy Piven coming up with our 7th inning stretch. Swung on and missed. Carlos Guillen. The ball ready and 0-1. He's hit foul straight back. Well, about the only thing that's turned out well for the Cubs today, the weather. We thought it was going to rain just before the game, and we did get some sprinkles in the first inning, but nothing that got in the way of the ball game.
Well, it rained home run balls early in the game today.
6 of them for Detroit, and we do understand there is some severe weather in the area, but we hope nothing too severe, of course. The Tapper foul. Temperatures in the mid-70s this afternoon. Well, the Cubs minor league teams have gone a combined 12-0 the past 3 days. And the Peoria Chiefs winning the first half in the Western Division of the Midwest League with another win at Kane County yesterday. 2 down. Scott Williamson pitching with Iowa. An inning, gave up a run, 1 hit, 1 walk. And I think Scott was going to work again today and possibly be back here in the next couple of days.
I think that was a game plan to go back-to-back on Saturday and Sunday, provided he bounced back okay from his outing last night.
One ball, 1 strike on Marcus Thames.
Glenn, you mentioned the Cubs minor league system the last few days, having a real good run of it. And make no mistake, those guys are keeping a close eye on what's happening up here at Wrigley Field throughout this homestand. I vividly remember sitting in the minor leagues with the Giants and watching Darrell Evans struggle one season at third base, thinking to myself, why aren't they calling me up? I can do that. Yeah, I know that's probably a sentiment that a lot of those minor league guys are thinking to themselves right now, or maybe even out loud.
Thames high in the air to right. Jones under it. And that's a 3rd out. Here comes Jeremy Piven.
Doctor for Take Me Out to the Ball Game. He plays Ari Gold on the hit show Entourage. Chicago native Jeremy Piven.
Hey, Cubs fans, let's hug it out, you little bitches. 1, 2, 3 the hard way. Take me out to the. Take me out with the. Buy me some and give it up. I don't care if 'cause it's for the. If they don't win, it's a. 'Cause it's 2 at the old ball game. Woo, woo, woo! Right.
Bottom of the 7th. Matt Merton just tapped out to the pitcher. And Jeremy Piven is with us, a very busy man. Entourage made its season debut on Sunday. I guess episode 2 would be tonight, right?
Tonight, tune in. We're going to see how Aquaman does for Vinny Chase and the boys.
Getting a feeling that Aquaman's going to do very well, but you would know better than I.
Yeah, he's got a good shot. He's an action star, a beautiful, charismatic young man, that Vinny Chase.
You got James Cameron, and what is that like, getting people to play themselves and maybe say some things that they might not naturally say?
Well, it's interesting. Some people love the show and they shy away from it a little bit. They think they're going to be shown in kind of an ugly light. But the reality is, James Woods was literally like when Mike Tyson was released from prison and came at Peter McNeely. He came at me, was throwing haymakers. I mean, I was bobbing and weaving. I had to rope it up. James Woods just killed it. He was brilliant. And this year we have a lot of attention. HBO has put a lot of energy out into the universe for us, and we're working our butts off, and I'm having a blast. I have more to do this season than any of the previous 2.
That's a nice position to be in, and you were on the Larry Sanders Show, and that had a similar vibe where people wanted to go on and, you know, maybe have Larry make fun of them or whatever, and that was kind of something a lot of people wanted to do. Absolutely,
but back then there wasn't a show about the backstage life of Hollywood, so people like Sharon Stone and whatnot stepped up before anyone else did. And yeah, we've got some really cool stuff coming up on Entourage. And we were talking earlier, I have this movie out right now called Keeping Up with the Steins, which is about the competitive world of bar mitzvahs.
I want to hear more about that. Can you hang for a couple of minutes?
Absolutely, I'd love to.
All right, Jeremy Piven is with us. All Detroit today, 10-2. Ari Gold will say that the pitcher. I don't know if he was in character here or not.
Right over the top. Good four-seam fastball. Late movement.
You know what? I feel that I have nothing but potential. And then look at the target on that gentleman. And he's about 6'7".
If nothing else, you have potential, right?
Yes, indeed. As do the Cubs, right?
Just trying to get things turned around here. 10-2 Detroit, and it's Chris Shelton. All right, keeping up with the Steins, a competitive world of bar mitzvahs continue.
It's a comedy that's out right now, and it's fun because it's in a couple hundred theaters as opposed to the bigger movies. It's in 3,000, and the response has been really great. It's kind of like alternative programming for people that want to go and laugh. And we shot it out in L.A. and it actually does happen out there. People compete against each other on a very high level for the biggest and most ostentatious bar mitzvah and bat mitzvah. I mean, it happens. They shoot Ryan Seacrest out of cannons, and they it $500,000 for a bat mitzvah. So it's kind of like I play a Brentwood dad out in L.A. that's competing against everyone else. But ultimately, it's about what matters to you in this lifetime and family and all that stuff. Right. And it's kind of like my big fat Jew party as opposed to my big fat Greek bar mitzvah.
Another home run.
It's just we're shelling them.
That's number 7 given up by the Cubs. Shelton with his second of the day. They have been flying out of Wrigley this afternoon. That is your third given up by Novoa.
Now, gentlemen, is it safe to say that I am ready to warm up, and do I need to go down there? You saw my style.
We hope not.
That might be exactly what we need to slow down this Tigers offense. Come in under the radar.
Right, indeed. The slowest pitch in history, maybe to get a couple giggles, and they'll swing wildly, and we'll end the inning.
Make them laugh under the bat speed, so to speak. Also, you have a voice in Cars, which is getting great reviews. I have not seen it yet, but I hope to see it with my son, who's really into cars.
A great family movie. I saw The Incredibles, and I just wanted to be a part of that whole team. So I went in there and had a blast, and that's a great one. And we got the 3rd season of Entourage, which is premiered last Sunday, and tonight's a great episode. It's gonna be a great season. And I ran out here to do my thing and live the Chicago dream and throw the first pitch out. And every year I'm going to get better and better.
Life is good for you right now.
Could be a lot worse. Believe me.
How about the Piven Theater Workshop? Started by your parents as that one buzzed Inge.
Last night we had a benefit for the Piven Theater. It's been around a little over 30 years. And if it wasn't for my parents and their work, I wouldn't be here. And a lot of people that we've seen in movies and TV wouldn't be around. So it was a way to give back to her theater.
Brandon Inge, deep left center field. Oh, my.
It's interesting, huh? Now, I'm confused. Is this batting practice, or are we actually in the game right now?
Boy, it has looked like it. That's 8 home runs. The Cubs gave up 8 against Atlanta on a Sunday, and they've done it today. Ouch.
I think it's a beautiful day for Detroit and not the greatest day for Chicago, but it's beautiful to be at the park. Can I say that to infuse some positivity?
You absolutely can.
Yeah. I want to say that I was living the dream as I walked out onto the field. I was speaking to Sammy Sosa, and so I couldn't actually see him play today, but at least I could speak to him as I walked out onto the field. That's as close as I could get.
Well, we had your buddy John Cusack up here earlier in the year, and you guys co-founded New Crime Productions, huh?
Yeah, we did a lot of theater here in Chicago, and people ask, Chicagoans should know that when you're out in LA doing your thing.
Kenny Rogers, fair ball. So now even the pitcher's getting into the act.
Interesting. Tell me again the record for most home runs in a game.
Well, the Cubs record, I think, for most allowed, they tied it today with 8. That's a first career double for Kenny Rogers.
A lot of Detroit fans here.
Way too many.
Yeah.
Well, they've just had a lot more to cheer about in this 3-game series than the Cubs fans have had. First double of his career. First time he swung the bat today.
Wow.
You know, I asked John about the movie that he's been in that he's maybe most proud of, and I think what he said was, I would pick a movie I wasn't in, but I think he was joking. But he mentioned High Fidelity. What would you mention as either the show or the film that you've been in that you're most proud of? Do you have one?
Well, you know, Entourage for me has given me more room to run as a performer than I've ever had. And I just can't imagine this character getting old for me. It's just, he's so emotionally invested and runs so hot and has the duality of his professional life that he's so great at, and at home the wife wears the pants. And I'm having the time of my life. I just finished the best role I've ever had in a movie, something called Smokin' Aces, that Joe Carnahan wrote and directed for Universal. And the most eclectic cast I've ever been a part of, everyone from Alicia Keys to Ray Liotta and a bunch of people. So that was incredible. Smokin' Aces is probably the best role I've ever had in my life.
All right, we're with Jeremy Piven. We'll be back to Wrigley. It's now 12-2.
It's going to get better for the Cubs, though.
In the Cubs order. So Jock Jones is out. And the pitch from Ullman to Granderson is fouled back. We're just visiting here with Jeremy Piven. And Jeremy, again, thanks for stopping by. We appreciate it. And Entourage is a great show. I know we watch it all the time. And we were just talking off the air about the chemistry the entire cast has. Does that work off the air as well?
Completely. These are guys that don't take any of this for granted. We're in an amazing position. Everyone from Jerry Ferrara, who plays Turtle, you know, was just, you know, hadn't done a lot before this show, to myself and Kevin Dillon and Connolly and Adrian, and none of it's lost on us. We love our jobs, we work hard, and they're great guys, and we're working harder and harder, and the show's getting better. And I'm a proud Chicago boy, so whenever I'm out there, they know where I'm from, that's for sure. We can just only hope that a tourniquet can be put on the bleeding, as you say, today, and that we don't go for the record, we don't get 9 home runs, and the Cubs turn it around.
Well, because that's what everybody wants.
Yes.
That's what everybody wants. Last question. How realistic is the show, and do you have an agent like you play, or have you ever seen one like quite as intense?
There are agents that are as intense, if not more intense, and then that have bigger hearts as well, and it runs the gamut. An agent like that wouldn't have the pen for a Chicago stage actor like myself. You know, I don't think so. I wouldn't match up. So it's cathartic to play this character.
I bet.
Yeah, very cathartic.
I bet. Are you going to take it easy on Lloyd this year? I mean, it's
no. Not only will
nasty.
I will crush Lloyd in ways that you've never seen. No, seriously, it's unbelievable what we just shot. I mean, it's.
I like when you find a little, you're yelling at Lloyd in the first episode, and you find a little dust. Lloyd! Every little thing, it's like Lloyd's going to take it.
Well,
you know?
Lloyd puts me in a position that we just shot the other night, in which I'll just put this out there. My character is the only straight man in a room of hundreds of sweaty gay men, and I scream Lloyd at the top of my lungs, and it's just fantastic.
Okay.
So he gets me into a very sticky situation.
Okay. You liking your new office where you're West Hollywood?
The new office, I'm going to go to the next level that you'll see, which the new office looks like something out of Dr. Strangelove. It's just incredible. But that's what a lot of the Hollywood agents do. They're trying to top each other. You know, at some point there will be a celebrity space shuttle that will hover around the universe, and they will sign deals up there, which I think will be like season 22.
Okay.
And hopefully you guys will still have me back.
Of course we will.
Now, the Cubs, the 100th anniversary of their World Series victory will be next year. Is that correct?
In 08.
Okay, so we got to win it next year. Is that correct?
Yeah, preferably it would have been this year.
This year, anything's possible, right? Can we say that? Or
yes. Anything's sure. Anything's possible. Things have to turn around very quickly. Well, Jeremy, thanks for the time as always. Great to see you.
Thank you guys
best
for
of
having
luck.
me. I appreciate it. Take care. Go Cubs. See you guys.
Okay. That's Jeremy Piven. One out here in the inning.
Yeah, Len, I'm with you. I kept thinking maybe Lloyd would take karate lessons or something and just really put it on Airy one time.
Kick and the pitch, and fouled back by Polanco. I'll tell you, when we saw the 8 home runs from Atlanta, I'd never seen anything like it, and I didn't think we would ever see anything again like it. But the Tigers have matched them today. Granderson, Wilson, Guillen, Thames, and how about this? The 7 and 8 hitters, each with 2. Shelton and Inge. Low and inside, and Polanco walks. And now it's Vance Wilson, 2-run homer in the 4th inning. Mark Pryor allowed 4 home runs, and Roberto Novoa also yielded 4. Pryor went 3 2/3. Novoa 3 1/3.
And we talked about Jim Leland inserting Vance Wilson into the 3 spot in the lineup to try to eliminate the temptation of making a double switch with his catcher and bringing Pudge into the ball game. Not likely to happen now. We may see Jim Leland run some of his bench players in there to get them some at bats here at the end of this ball game.
I've got a piece of Wilson's bat. Blanco setting up on that inside corner as Omen pitches, and a line shot. That'll be a double play as they double off Rogers at second base. 2 more homers. It's now 12-2 for the visitors. the 8th. You don't have to build your own field of dreams to have a memorable game of catch with your dad or loved one. You can come and play catch on ours. On Sunday, July 9th, Wrigley Field will host the 2nd annual Hey Dad, Want to Have a Catch charity event benefiting Cubs Care. You can spend an hour playing catch in the infield, running the bases, or chatting in the dugouts of beautiful Wrigley Field. Each participant will receive a commemorative T-shirt, a photograph, and lunch in the Friendly Confines Cafe. Tickets are $150 per person. They can be purchased by credit card only at 773-404 Cubs. This event is sponsored by Fidelity Investments and WGN TV. All proceeds benefit Cubs Care, a fund of the McCormick Tribune Foundation. That is a great event. And those two kids in the graphic, Maggie and Brandon Blunk. So I'm sure they're wishing their dad, Jay Blunk, Cubs Director of Promotions and Advertising, a happy Father's Day. Alexis Gomez is now in right. You think about playing catch with your dad, this is a great day to do it. Blanco's 2 for 2. Ten home runs combined. Unfortunately for the Cubs, they have only 2 of them. And a breaking ball in the dirt, swung on and missed. Now, you had an agent in your playing days, correct?
Yes, I did.
Nothing like Ari Gold, right?
No.
Not quite as intense.
No. Well, I mean, he was very intense.
But he was on your side.
Fought hard for what we felt we were worth, but nothing like Ari.
One and 2 on Blanco. Ryan Dempster looks like he's just going to get an inning of work in the 9th inning. Fly ball down the right field line, but it's going to slice foul.
Thank goodness for Henry Blanco, Len. I'll tell you, it's been tough to find positives over the course of this 3-game series, but Henry has been the one shining light. Put together one good at bat after another. He's called and caught great games in this series.
It's very rare to say that you hope that you get on the road, you get it together. Let's step aside and see what's coming up on WGN. Freddie Bynum with his first at bat came in as part of the double switch and is playing right. The Cubs, the loss today, would drop to 12-20 at home. Their last road trip, they were 6-4. But they'll try to get it back together with a series in Cleveland. The Indians off to a disappointing start.
Phil Nevin with the catcher's mitt on over there in that third base dugout. Not sure if he's going to get an opportunity to come in and catch an inning in this ball game, just in case they need him at some point in the future. Well, he's got that look on his face like a catcher, you know, just slight confusion and not always quite sure what's going on. He looks like a catcher.
Bynum strikes out. Talking to Michael Barrett.
Well, I'd venture to guess that Phil Nevin doesn't have his own catcher's mitt, even though he's gone behind the plate in a major league game before and has been an emergency catcher throughout his career. He probably doesn't have a catcher's mitt. So he's shopping between Henry Blanco and Michael Barrett's duffel bag, trying to figure out what gear he wants to use.
Tried that helmet On backwards. You see Mabry stretching out, getting ready. It's like his first baseman's mitt is on.
John Mabry's just glad it's Phil Nevin going behind the plate, not him.
So Nevin getting ready to catch. I think he caught just a handful of games last year, maybe 2 or 3. I'll check it out. With San Diego. Originally a catcher, but he hasn't done it regularly for a long time.
They caught 2 games in 05, 1 game in 04, 31 times in 99, 69 times in 98. So not a totally foreign position to him, but certainly one that he's not as comfortable as he is at other positions.
Having a former Tiger. Ground ball right side, and Polanco moving over to his left, and Kenny Rogers just cruising today with a huge lead. Offers a spectacular view and catered service for groups of 75 to 100 people, and is the latest addition to beautiful Wrigley Field. The batter's eye is also available for non-game day functions. To book your date, call 773-404-CUBS. Mabry playing first because Phil Nevin is now behind the plate. Getting an inning of work here with Ryan Dempster, the closer, trying to get 3 outs here. And the Cubs down big this afternoon, fouled away by Alexis Gomez. Came into play right in the 8th inning.
And Nevin, a big guy behind the plate at 6'3", 220 plus. He gives a good low target. Pretty flexible for a big guy.
Want to give props to Ryan and Jenny Dempster, who yesterday reserved 50 tickets. Line drive to left, and Merton trapped it. That's a base hit. So leadoff single for Gomez here in the ninth. Jenny, I guess, originally had the idea, families with dads who were overseas serving or possibly returning from abroad. And so they invited some families out to the ballpark yesterday. Ryan met with the group, signed some autographs, and just a great day all around. I guess there were a few dads who had just come back from abroad who were there, but that is great what the Dempsters did yesterday. And a happy first Father's Day for Ryan. His son Brady was born on May 28th. So let's see, that was 3 weeks ago today.
I'd hoped it would be under better circumstances, and I was kind of saving it in the event he did something good today, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. Tony Womack had a Father's Day that he will never forget. Back in '01, unfortunately, he lost his father, Thomas, who he was extremely close to. Was away from the ball club for almost 2 weeks before he felt it was time to come back and get back to work. And on Father's Day, after his father passed, he had a huge day for the Diamondbacks. Went 3 for 4 with a couple of doubles and a grand slam. One of the most emotional days I've ever seen at a ballpark. I even gave Tony the option of not playing in that ball game. I knew how upset he was about the passing of his father, and he just mentally seemed to have trouble getting into the flow of things once he did come back to the ball club. But he insisted on being in the lineup that day and had an awesome day.
Everybody getting out of the way down there. Eli Clark. Everybody's okay. Equipment looks to be okay as well. Noggin. Called strike 3. That was an interesting move by Santiago, getting out of the way, but it was a called strike.
A little bit of a comebacker from Dempster, up around the belt in the 9th inning of a 10-run ball game. That's a strike.
Ball 1 on Marcus Thames. The 6, 7, and 8 guys combining for 5 home runs for Detroit. Thames, Shelton, and Inge. And coming in, they had 38 combined home runs, so now 43 overall for those 3 guys combined. One and two. Well, this game started with a Curtis Granderson leadoff home run, and that certainly set the tone. Burton coming in on this one as Cedeno peels off, and he has it. Here's our upcoming Cubs and Sox games in high definition on WGN and WCIU Channel 26. Sponsored by Comcast. Cardinals and White Sox Wednesday night on WCIU. Brewers and Cubs Tuesday night, June 27th on WCIU. And then on WGN Thursday, June 29th at 1 o'clock for the leadoff man. All in beautiful HD. Sponsored by Comcast. Our next WGN broadcast will be Tuesday night from Jacobs Field in Cleveland, Ohio. Greg Maddux and left-hander Cliff Lee at 6 o'clock Central. Chris Shelton in the air, shallow center field. Camping under it now is Pierre to make the catch. Inning over, bottom 9 coming up. Father's Day, but it is Sir Paul McCartney's birthday. He always wondered what it would be like to be 64. Well, he is. So happy birthday to former Beatle Paul McCartney. 64. Jason Grilli, he is on for Detroit. And Tony Womack bounces it up the middle. Santiago staying in the game. It's short. Throwing him out. What a great song this is from Sgt. Pepper, I believe. Boy, when I was into that album, I mean, I would just listen to it over and over and over and over.
I still do on occasion.
Lovely Rita. It's getting better all the time. Fixing a hole. One strike on Ramirez. Speaking of Father's Day, Jason Grilli's father, Steve, pitched for the Tigers and the Blue Jays. Check swing by Aramis, and he did not go. So says Field and Culbreth at first.
The check swing was a little reminiscent of Sean Dunston when he used to try to check his swing.
Another bouncer.
He used to take his hands off the bat like it was hot.
Today's Budweiser play of the game, and you know, this is again how the tone was set. The first batter of the game hit it out, Curtis Granderson. And the Tigers would hit 3 home runs, including that one in the first inning, take a 6-0 lead, and they have not looked back. They have led all weekend.
And we've talked about it at length over the last few weeks. It's tough for a ball club that doesn't have a lot of thunder in their lineup right now to fall behind early in a game.
Phil Nevins skies one to deep left center field, and it will go a home run. 3 runs for the Cubs today, all on solo home runs. That's his 4th as a Cub. And it comes with 2 outs in the 9th. 12-3. $15 runs in this game, all on home runs.
Phil Nevins certainly making a case for himself to be in that lineup on a regular basis rather than just against left-handed pitching. Our Southwest.com, how far did it fly? 378 feet. Nice going, Phil Nevin.
And Matt Merton now stuck in an 0 for 15 slide. 0 for 3 today. And he's down to his last swing here. 0-2. Bouncer right back to Grilli. And that's it. The Cubs are swept by the Tigers, and they go 0-6 on the homestand. 12-3 the final. We'll wrap it up from Wrigley in a moment.